one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. I am Broke Boi Crypto, and I have here with me, as always, Crypto Ewok. We have a big show here for you tonight. We are going to talk about some recent Richard Hart tweets, one of which we both thought was really interesting, about how in the past Hex has done a 20x as Bitcoin was going the other direction and going from the all-time high of 65K down to 30K. Can Hex and the PulseChain ecosystem do something similar again? We're going to talk about that. A lot of Richard Hart tweets to go through. We have some people in the community creating a petition at pulsepetition.org, I believe, without looking at it. Yes, pulsepetition.org. A lot of things going on right now. If you're just joining the show, do us a favor. If you like it, hit the like on the way in. We very much appreciate it. New night, new time. Not really a new time. That was just for tonight, but we are now doing this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday was our old day, so we are on a short week this week. We thank you even more for being with us tonight on that short, quick change for you guys. So much appreciate all of you being here. Ewok, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good. Happy Halloween.
Just Halloween indeed.
Taking the kiddos around the neighborhood, doing a little trick-or-treating, filled up the candy basket, and now I'm ready to stream.
And
all jacked up on chocolate.
Exactly. And you get the basket home, and you got to go through everything and open them up, make sure there's no razor blades in it, or
make sure the neighbors didn't give us any drugs. Yeah,
exactly. So you got to make sure of that, depending upon where you are in the country. So yeah, it's weird. I was telling you the other day, and I don't know if this is, and I'm not going to say where I am specifically, but I don't know if this is true for anybody else out there in the country, but not all communities have their official trick or treat night on Halloween being today. We've always had ours one day the week prior since I was a kid, actually. So, kind of weird how that works. I don't really know.
Yeah, some places do it on the weekends where there's, more people are home or whatever, don't have to work the next morning. So I get it. Every neighborhood's a little different, but usually here they do it on Halloween evening. So it's been good. We have a good neighborhood. It's just quiet area.
Right.
So.
What do you say we just skip the normal agenda and just rank Halloween candies? You want to just go back and forth, pick what your favorite one is, kind of have a Halloween candy draft, maybe? That'd be fun. I know my son would pick Reese's.
100 grand bar is my favorite all time.
Ooh, I tell you what, that's underrated. I definitely do like
very
that.
Underrated.
Speaking of Reese's too, the Reese's, I got to make sure I say the right one. Not Take 5, Fast Break. Mm-hmm. Those are really good. I don't see them out there very often. And if my son is listening to this on the back end, which he does very frequently, and he's hearing us talk about Reese's, he's definitely loving it right now. So shout out to him. But yeah, guys, so hit us up in the chat. We want to hear what you guys have to say about all these topics here tonight. Smash the like. We appreciate you guys being here. Let's start off with some recent price action. BTC and ETH not doing tons of stuff, but as we speak right now, things continuing to look pretty bullish. I mean, we had a nice little leg up to get kind of concrete over 30K in the last few weeks for BTC, pushing towards 35K right now, right about 34.5, 34.6. We got ETH up over 1,800, looking pretty healthy here the last couple of weeks. And of course, maybe I'm having a short attention span here, thinking that there hasn't been a lot of movement recently, and how soon we forget the PulseChain pump that we have had over the last few weeks. Still sucks how down everybody still is, not just in this ecosystem, but throughout crypto. But hey, we have gotten a bounce off the lows. Most portfolios are probably 2x off of the lows at this point. We've got PulseChain still at 40% below the SAC rate. PulseX is about 83% below the SAC rate, but starting to look a little bit more bullish on the PulseX chart after it's been left for dead by most people. The actual Hex is at 1.4 cents right now, and eHex pushing back towards a penny. It's had a decent, actually, no, compared to the rest of the ecosystem, I guess the last 24 hours, not as good, but still pushing towards a penny. So, yeah, Ewok, what do you make? I mean, we are off the back of this recent big pump that we have had. What do you think about what we're seeing in the PulseChain ecosystem price-wise? We had a nice deep kind of pullback after just green candle after green candle after green candle. We saw PulseChain go up to about a little bit over 30% below the SAC rate, and now pulled back to almost 50% off the other day, and now we're kind of bouncing back up. So let me see what chart
let me touch Bitcoin here real quick first, because this is the one that really stands out at me. This is a really nice bull flag painting. I don't have any lines on here, but you can see it pretty clear. It's definitely compressing down here, so it's going to do one thing or another, and it's probably going to happen pretty soon. It looks like a nice bull flag could give us a nice little candle up. I mean, if you measured this move, usually a bull flag will print this size candle going up again, which could put us up near 40,000. Now, I don't know how quickly it'll happen, but this could mess around back and forth a little bit here. But yeah, it's a nice bull flag that's painting, and same for Ethereum. It's a little out of whack, but it's got the same structure set up. So
yeah,
that's good. But yeah, let's look at the PulseChain here, because I think, let me share this tab instead.
There you go.
This is the daily. So yeah, we did have a very nice run up, several green candles in a row. And of course, it is always healthy to have a little bit of pullback, set a higher low, and starting more green candles again. So if this pattern can continue a couple times here, we could be back to SAC price. I don't know. We're pretty far below it, but
end of the year
001, right?
Yeah. Yep.
001. So
yeah, right up there where you are.
Right in here. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this pattern can continue, and don't get discouraged, because pullbacks are healthy. You don't want to see a parabolic run without some sort of correction. The corrections are always good, because that's people that are taking profits and getting out. It just allows it to go up faster when those people don't have any funds left to sell. Now, I know with the sacrifice, there's still a lot of funds out there. There's a lot of wallets that have money that are probably looking to break even that SAC rate. But then again, there's a lot of diamond-handed people that are also out there that are looking to see it get to a penny or so. So, I mean, I can see both sides. We're going to have the traders trading and doing the degen stuff. But yes, very healthy structure, always with a nice run up to have a decent pullback and then start over again. So yeah, we're looking really good with Pulse. And I think these charts are all very similar because they're so tied together. Just not as here. Logarithmic. So it's a very similar structure, just not quite as pronounced as the PulseChain. But again, they're all moving together. Incentive has been a little odd as well. I don't know if you've looked at this or not.
Not the chart. Well, I know it's the furthest down.
Yeah, it is, but it's also seeing some positivity. Don't forget, this coin was up over $85, 80 bucks or so at one point. And because of what it was a farming token. People started selling it and trading it for other things, so obviously the value went down. However, it's got some interesting tokenomics to it, and I don't think that people understand that it is very it's not deflationary. It's always inflationary, but it has a halvening kind of like Bitcoin does. So, there's some interesting things where at this floor, some big buyers could come in and own a share of the supply and pretty much make the market set the price, whatever they want. So, this is going to get interesting too when it gets up into a couple bucks. Things start taking off. They start pairing things with it. And as the bull run, as we know, the rising tide lifts all the boats. So that'll be interesting too. I'm just kind of interesting to see what happens with it, if it's just a constant sell coin or if it does get a little bit of structure. Yeah, and Hex is looking the same way. So
yeah,
overall looking good.
Yeah, I think people will. I mean, I've even heard some people talking about just buying incentive tokens spot right now. I mean, like, I know that's not something everybody would want to do, but yeah, I mean, it is, being able to earn yield off it obviously is a nice thing. We'll have to see how it comes back. But as far as the actual pullback of the overall ecosystem, definitely healthy, I think, for sure. I mean, like, we just saw parabolic rises for day after day after day after day. And again, like you said, it's going to hit resistance at some point and come back. I know I took advantage of the opportunity here the last day or so to buy this dip after we've come back a bit. So let's hope that we maybe with Pulse specifically at the 4 zeros and a 5-ish area, 50% off the sack rate, maybe created a new floor right there. We bounced off it pretty nice, coming up here towards 6 again. So we'll see if it continues to do that. Resistance that it hit was a little bit over 7 the other day. So yeah, we'll see kind of where we go after that. But yeah, this is, it's still, it's funny because everybody gets FOMO when they see these moves. It was pretty insane, especially for how down everything has been for so long. And I think a lot of people started to FOMO in, hey, not telling anybody else what to do, but I think for you and I, fly your FOMO flag. I gotta be very careful how I say that, but fly it high because, we are still super early. We're below sack rate. So it's like, don't feel bad if you FOMO'd. It's not like you FOMO'd into the all-time high. Like we're nowhere near out of the woods here. So, so good.
It's still a great time to DCA is what you're basically bottom line is, you're still getting in at a better rate than some of the smaller sacrificers, the people that put in anywhere from $100 to $1,000. They didn't really get any kind of volume bonus, so to speak. So yeah, you're still getting a much better rate than what they got. Now the coins that they got them for were at a higher value, so we can't forget about that. At the time of sacrifice, Hex was at 20 or 30 cents, whatever it was, and so there was a lot more value and a lot less. It took a lot less to get to that point than it does now. But again, the prices right now are pretty juicy.
They definitely are, yeah. So feel free to FOMO. Triple F, that's what I'm doing right now. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, smash the like. We appreciate it. Tomorrow, this is something we don't care about too much right now. And usually when the show was on Wednesdays, we would be reacting to the news. Now we're kind of previewing it. But we do have an FOMC meeting taking place today and tomorrow. We're going to see if there's any real announcement in terms of rate hikes tomorrow, which it's the 1st of November. Really, people are not thinking there will be, that they'll continue to just have rates paused. The thesis for a while now has been that they sound like they're going to, and we're going to get into this with some recent Richard Hart tweets, but that they are going to leave interest rates hiked for longer rather than starting to pivot sooner. So while we may not see anything increasing in the short term, deep into 2024, maybe about halfway through the year, we could see our last rate hike, or at least they'll be at this elevated rate for that long. But we got 2 more the rest of this year. We have this one today, tomorrow, and then December the 13th is the next FOMC meeting. So these are in such close proximity. I mean, that's only 6 weeks away. I don't think going into the end of the year, Christmas, all these things, they're not going to do anything. I just can't imagine any kind of major change with all the things going on in the world right now. I don't think they're going to really make any changes here. But what do you think, Ewok?
Yeah, I agree. I think they leave it. I think they leave it where it's at for the rest of the year. We've got wars starting. So the money printers have essentially been turned on. I don't think they will raise the rates or do anything crazy until I don't even think they'll do it in the first quarter of next year. I really just don't see it. they want to compile more numbers, see what's happening, and yeah, I just, it's a big nothing burger. I think the prices of everything are pretty baked in, so yeah, I don't think we'll see any type of change, at least until after March.
Yeah, I could see that. And to your point, the first meeting in 2024 is January the 31st. So, man, these are about every 6 weeks or so for the next couple of months. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We will see what they do, but I'm with you. Yeah, I don't think we'll even get any by that point. I think we're all just kind of, you don't want to wish time away necessarily, but it'll be interesting once we get to 2024 all around, just to see kind of how things are developing here. So we will keep our eye out for any news tomorrow, but I think we'll probably see continued just pauses with the FOMC stuff. Back to the PulseChain ecosystem, and I wanted to attack this right now because we are talking about current pricing and how things have gotten a little bit out of whack in a good way, depending upon how you look at it and if you actually do stake your hex and stuff like that. But the hexes have both just been pumping, insanely hard over the last couple of weeks, all led by eHex, which was awesome to see, with the ecosystem coming back up, with eHex really pumping the most at first and then everything kind of coming up with it. I was really intrigued. I know we mentioned him a decent bit. Hell, everybody does, so who cares? But Sami made a really good video the other day. And he pretty clearly, I think, holds a lot of liquid hex. Now, everybody has a different, strategize however you want to. I mean, Ewok and I are both proponents of staking hex. We're both staked out short, mid, long term. I think I'm probably more short term than you are, Ewok. I don't know. But we both are staked out pretty well. I know Briz in the chat is a big proponent of that. Some people just want to have, access to this ecosystem and just want to hold hex. Some people want to actually stake hex as it is meant to be. If you caught our awesome stream with RG3 last week, which was just great, he dropped all kinds of bombs. It was just fantastic. But he was talking a lot about, the staking mechanism of hex. And either way, we'll get to the actual staking part in a minute, but Sami was talking about how Hex has gotten, such a big pump lately that he's been rotating about a third of those funds or whatever he's had in Hex back into Pulse and PulseX because they have, ratio-wise, gotten so low against Hex that he wanted to put some of the value back in there. I can't argue with an idea like that. I mean, when you're seeing, a ratio value like that, why not do it? I'm not in a position to do it because I've just been earning yield on my hex, as we get into the next bull market. But what do you make of that idea, Ewok? I know, you yourself likely wouldn't do it and don't hold much liquid hex either. But I think that just at the very least, if you are staked out kind of like we are, there's an opportunity here to really go hard on the Pulse tokens. I mean, specifically Pulse and PulseX, with how much hex has kind of gotten an advantage on them recently. So what do you think about that? And is that something you would condone or you would do if you held a lot of liquid hex?
I'm not going to tell anybody what to do with their own coins, but I wouldn't. I still think hex is going to be a big winner this cycle. However, if you're, man, it's tough. If you're ratio trading like that back and forth and you're keeping an eye on it and you're good at what you're doing, then sure. But I just worry that people are going to try and trade in and out and get chopped up and make the wrong choice just when something, like, they'll trade out of hex and into something else, and then hex runs, and then they're like, oh crap, I got to get back over. Excuse me, your camera went out.
I did that on purpose.
Oh,
I
okay.
got nose cold issues. I don't want to see my snot rag on camera.
I gotcha. But yeah, so I mean, I just worry that people are going to make the wrong moves and lose on a position by trying to gain a position. It's tricky, and you just don't know what the market's going to do. So as far as that goes, if you really want to help the market, maybe put in some liquidity positions and use that money to buy some new, right? I mean, I think this whole ecosystem is going to do great. So again, if you just kind of, sometimes just sitting back and doing nothing is your best move. It's when you try to make these things happen out of nowhere when you really didn't have to, is when you can get burned the most. And I hate to see that, especially with newer people. We kind of cater. I don't want to say we cater to the newer people, but we definitely try to help out some of the newer people and get them headed in the right direction and teach them the habits that promote longevity and delaying the gratification and not so much the trading. Those are for other shows and the TA and all that good stuff. But I'm not a fan. Sami's been around a while. I know. I don't think he's been in this community forever since the beginning, but he has been around in crypto. He's definitely knows what he's talking about. So I just don't like when they say, "Here's what you should do," because it's not for everybody. So that's my opinion on it. Like me, I'll flat out say I'm staked 8.5 years is my average duration for my stakes. So.
Girthy
Not I'm not a big liquid person at this point. I do have some stuff coming out, some bigger stuff coming out next year. So, I will have it available hopefully by the end of the cycle. But right now I'm gonna, take advantage of earning more every day.
Yeah, for sure. And Sami's somebody who's been around for a while and, is comfortable himself doing, ratio trades like that. But I mean, I think when you hear ratio trade, you think that that's like a common thing that people are doing very frequently. This was after like an insane pump, not that you necessarily can time these things when you'll ratio trade. It's more about a price difference that you yourself are comfortable ratio trading in. So that kind of thing I understand. But certainly if you don't have experience doing it, I wouldn't recommend it because you're right, Ewok. I mean, we just saw it with this ecosystem pumping. I mean, things turn on a dime so damn quick in crypto that if you make a false move, whereas again, like you said, you could have just done nothing, you'd have been totally fine. So, I mean, I'm totally okay just earning yield on my Hex in the meantime. And when I'm DCAing right now, just DCAing it. And again, whatever you guys want to do, but I kind of maintain that 33, 33, 33 split between Pulse, Pulse X, and then Hexes combined. So I'm just going hard into Pulse and Pulse X right now. And it's so funny too. And I said this to you, Ewok, and I'm sure you witnessed it as well. When you are staked out heavily with Hex, especially for like a Hex OG like yourself, you will see on a pump like that just how much Hex you hold. Because even if the whole ecosystem like pumps together, it's like you've been earning all this insanely cheap Hex just day after day after day after day. And when the prices are going down or stagnant, you don't really see that. But when they pump, it's like, holy shit, I was like 30% Hex. Now my portfolio is like 45% Hex just because of
it doesn't take much when you're earning, free stuff at 0.0003 or, or 0.003, whatever it is, 3 cents. But when you get to a penny, your bag triples. And it does really throw off your ratios, or no, not your ratios, but your balance of your portfolio quite drastically.
Right.
So it's interesting to see it. For me, a couple pennies means quite a bit at this point. So,
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, let that be a kind of a lesson too. I mean, like, people are always going to, with how much this market changes, people are going to victory lap you and think that they had the right strategy or you had the wrong one at different points. Great saying is everybody's right about an investment thesis based on a moment in time. So you can say any kind of maniacal thing you want. At some point, you're right. So, just seeing, but you're right. Seeing all that yield pile up for Hex, and then when the price actually pumps, my God, you really see like the power of it. So, hey, everybody, we got a lot of people pouring in here right now. So if you guys are on your way in and enjoying the stream, hit the like for us. We appreciate it. We appreciate you joining in on the conversation here tonight. Hey, we got a little bit of a pullback in the ecosystem, but still got green candles lately. Things are good. Let's review some of these recent Richard Hart tweets. And I'm under the weather tonight, so if I screw up some words, that probably is why. Too much Diamond Tap or whatever. So back to Friday, Richard Hart, and this is kind of the thesis of this episode that we're talking about here. He said, remember when Bitcoin went from 65K to 30K while Hex did like a 20X? Remember when I called the top years ago? Bitcoin is a risk-on asset, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to get into more of what he said here, but what I wanted to focus on is that first part that he said, how in the last bull market, and that would have been from basically DeFi summer, the spring, April of 2021 until deep into the summer when we went from 65K down to 30K. And then, of course, we round tripped it back up to 69K or whatever in November of 2021. But Hex performing like that as Bitcoin goes down. Okay. Now, altcoins, and people have to realize what we're talking about right now is bull market mentality. This kind of stuff we're speaking of isn't happening yet because we're not quite there yet. But Bitcoin gets to an all-time high of 65K. As it pulls back and literally drops 50%, cut in half in the last bull market, Hex not only continued to go up, but did a 20x. Altcoins do tend to lag and then pump harder and longer than BTC after BTC has gotten where it needs to go. Hex did that in the last bull market to the tune of 20x. It was one of the best performers, obviously, in the last bull market. Could we see Hex do something like that again, as we get into 2024, maybe 2025, but next year? We've been in this depression for too long and people are looking for green candles here. Do you think we see Bitcoin, as it hopefully does reach somewhere near all-time highs and pumps hard deep into 2024? How do you think Hex behaves against it? And when Bitcoin does drop again in the bull market, how does this ecosystem perform? Can it continue to go the opposite direction of Bitcoin? Ewok.
Yeah. So a big thing that you really have to take into consideration is the liquidity pair, right? When that happened, I would say 80%, 85% of the liquidity was tied to the US dollar. With Bitcoin, it's tied with everything. So when there's a sell-off, that all kind of fades. Hex being as new as it was, and there were still people just buying, the pair was with the US dollar. So there was nothing that was also tied to Bitcoin that was bringing it down with it. So we really went the other way. So when a lot of people were saying how, what's the word I'm looking for? We weren't bonded to it at all. It was untethered, or what? I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but the liquidity pairs just weren't bonded together with Bitcoin. So it was help me out. What's the word I'm looking for? It was totally.
Sorry, I was answering Louis' question here in the chat. My bad.
Oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we weren't tied to Bitcoin as much. We were tied to the US dollar. So it was unbalanced from that. So what we want to do this cycle is kind of see where that liquidity falls. I think things had shifted to where Hex was paired with more Ethereum than it was US dollars in the bear market. So it didn't affect it as much. The price of Ethereum staying steady kind of helped us hold it up there a little bit. If we had been just tied to the dollar like that, we probably would have dropped even further. So you definitely want to keep an eye on the liquidity pairs and see as things go up. Now, are we tied to the dollar? Are we tied to a lot of other things? Now, this ecosystem has grown so much, and there are so many things tied to it now that it could be a little different. I still think we're decoupled, though, as far as Bitcoin goes, right? A lot of the value still comes from Ethereum side, even onto PulseChain, because that's what a lot of the value that was bridged over, is tied to. So you still have to keep that into consideration. But there's a lot of other things the smaller things that can pump that have Hex pairs and PulseChain pairs that can also bring that up. So yeah, I think to answer your question, I think we can go the opposite way. It's a matter of how bullish this ecosystem and this community can be that doesn't really care what Bitcoin's doing over there. You know what I mean? If it's really all about who's buying and who's selling. Once the markets start to take off, these people in this community are kind of focused on green candles. You get more buying. It doesn't really matter what's going on. When you see an overall market dump, that's when you need to get worried because it becomes sentiment, So yeah, I think we can take off and decouple again, as long as those pairs kind of head back to the USDC side instead of the Ethereum side, more prominently.
Yeah. I think so too. And we have seen Hex throughout history move differently than BTC. We saw it obviously top out back in 2021, 2 months prior to BTC. It was in September. BTC did in November. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We are not there yet. We're certainly not in bull market vibes, but things are, seeming better, obviously, the last couple of weeks. So we'll continue to monitor that. Continuing with that thread from Richard, though, because even maybe more interestingly is him getting into what's going to do with interest rates, basically macro, all kinds of macro stuff. So, so he said TLDR, interest rates higher for longer to fight inflation, which we've been talking about here for weeks. People sell bonds and stocks to buy T-bills, risky to bet on BTC to decouple and act like a safe haven from stocks when historically it's just done what stocks have done, but harder. A few things have shown they can pump during dumps. With a smiley face because he's talking about Hex.
Yeah.
I am not a professional of any type. This is not financial advice, blah, blah, blah. P.S. It sucks that the government has billions of dollars of Bitcoin it intends to dump on your head from the Bitfinex hackers, Silk Road hackers, Silk Road itself, etc. It also has lots of Ethereum, sadly, because of things like FTX, however, much less than Bitcoin, which he's definitely read about that. So what he's saying, he continues to clarify this stuff. So I think stocks will be going down for a while. S&P 500 is at 4137 currently. If I'm right, it'll be pointing back to this call and telling you, I told you so, yada, yada. And it talks about calling the top in real estate as well. So he's basically saying that we should see stocks go the other direction and start going down here because of interest rates being hiked for longer, which, might make people worry when they hear that because, of course, they take what he think so seriously, but also just the fact that we think a bull market is around the corner, so what is going on? And then you also hear that a Fed pivot is a bearish scenario, like when they begin to pivot, markets do tend to dump. So what do you make of that? I mean, like, because it sounds like, well, when the hell are we going up here? Because I thought like next year is when like the market starts to go up. Is he talking about it just going down until maybe crashing into the pivot, whenever that may be, like by June or something of next year, and then we really take off? It's hard to say because there's so many different factors to this, but what do you make of that, Ewok? Because I think a lot of people read that and they thought like, okay, so I thought a bull market's around the corner. Why are you telling me that the stock market's going to go down and BTC is going to go down?
Well, I think people are losing faith in the general markets as a macro in general, and they want more profits. They know things are right around the corner. If you go back to what Richard said, and if you haven't watched some of his live streams and you're bored, you should really go back and listen to some of the things, because he does truly just educate. And one of the things that he said historically happens is it does crash after a pivot. Once they change the rates and start to go the other way, things will crash in the macro. So he's still anticipating that, I think, to happen. I haven't heard otherwise, but according to what he was saying, I still think he thinks that's happening. So, yeah, I'm not versed on the macro enough to be speaking of it. I don't understand the T-bills and the changing interest, like the interest rates and how they really. I mean, I understand how they affect things, but I don't know enough to talk skillfully about it. So I don't like to put my foot in my mouth and say something, that's wrong. But I just, I mean, I think he did mention, that the U.S. isn't the only country that's overprinting, printing their way out of the mess. So, I think the whole global economy, he did call the top on the housing market. And I don't know how far off he really was, because things are pretty bad with the rates and all of that good stuff. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I can only really look at the crypto markets and see what I'm seeing. As far as getting some of the normie money into this, people are just tired of making nothing, making no gains, and I can see it slowly happening, and I think that's why we're starting to see some of the green candles that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think so too. There's just so many different angles to this that you can assign any story to the market going in whatever direction you want to. I think, but
Mhm.
the thing that, if anything, I think helps me sleep at night is just that Bitcoin has stuck to that 4-year cycle just so
Yep.
perfectly,
Yeah.
and just kind of not betting the farm on that, but overall banking on that and realizing that there's going to be some delineation a bit from that. I mean, it's not going to go necessarily 100% according to plan, but just knowing that it's done that throughout its history, I would much rather pay attention to that than any of these different stories that people are pulling out of their hat, trying to assign to why things are up or down or whatever. So,
Yep.
yeah,
And
digital
and it's
farmer.
the cycle's the same until it's not, and we just
Hmm.
we've got to go on that. It's the 4-year cycle again is the same until it isn't. And until it teaches us that, we'll keep going with what we know.
For sure. Yeah. Did you want to get rid of that Hex daily stats up there? I don't know if you still knew you had it up or not, but
No,
I
I
just
still
figured.
see it, but I
I
I,
think
I
people
didn't know
probably
if
want to see our. Go
you want
ahead.
to see our ugly mugs.
I was gonna
You
say
know,
people probably want to see our faces in high def. Yeah, I don't know if you want to get
yeah,
rid of it, but
I
yeah.
did want to talk about the penalties the other day. I
Oh,
don't
go
know if
ahead.
I
Hey,
mean,
interrupt. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
the penalties today are not much, but I don't know if you noticed or anybody saw some of the penalties of the early end stakers. They're waiting till halfway through and they're unstaking millions and millions of hex.
Right.
Yesterday or the day before, the payout was up near 8 or 9, I think, because there
Mm,
was 12 million in penalties on both chains at least. It was pretty juicy. So just
yeah.
keep an eye on this page. It's got some really good information to kind of tell you what's going on in the markets. And the T-share rate, we've officially crossed over the 30,000 threshold for both chains. They're not far off. I'm really surprised how close they are as far as T-share rate goes. It's 5 hex difference at this point. So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
it's crazy how close they're staying together. But you look at the T-share price, 265 on Ethereum and 429 dollars on PulseChain. So yeah, that's all. I'll
Pretty
remove it so
sweet.
they can see our beautiful faces.
Thank you. I just wanted to get us a little bit more zoomed in there. So, but no, I think that those are stats that it is worthwhile for people to pay attention to, because in these kind of tumultuous times when the market's shitty and stuff like that, it is nice to see those metrics, to see that, like, okay, well, hey, flawless uptime again, and seeing what I'm earning every day as long as you're staked is valuable. So, and check out stuff like Crispy Man's channel and hexfire.io and stuff, because he does a lot of work with all that stuff and knows all the ins and outs of like what's going on with the hex stakers and everything. So I encourage everybody to check that out. Um,
Can I
let's
say
do
something
some.
about this
Yeah, go
comment?
ahead. Yeah.
Luis, don't forget, if you stake over 365 days, there are long-term capital gains and short-term capital.
Mm,
I'm not a tax person, but you might want to look into that. So I just like to bring that up when I see people doing short stakes. 140 days might not get you a whole bunch of yield. And
right.
depending on what the cost of if gas is that day, you just want to feel it out. Make sure that you're listening to all the options as far as staking goes. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and it's always good to, we talked a lot about staking ladders with RG3 last week. It's good to differentiate those, shorter stakes, longer stakes. I mean, my shortest one is 365 days probably, but short,
Yeah.
long, both chains, whatever, however you want to do it. So that's kind of an
Yeah.
individual choice. But hey, you know what? Great time actually to mention, if we want to shill something away, more so shilling Crypto Coffee and all the great stuff he makes for, learning resources for this ecosystem. Every single one of our videos, I put our affiliate link to his Hex passive income course. He just finished all of the updates to it that include PulseChain stuff. Now, I think a lot of the content in the course, if you are not a beginner and already really familiar with this stuff, may be, very repetitive for you possibly. But it is intended to help somebody who hasn't done this at all and help somebody out with Hex. But
Yeah.
I'm guaranteed that you'll learn something that you don't know. I've already learned stuff that I don't know when I see things that are in it. So check that out. That's going to be the pinned tweet on all of our videos. I highly recommend looking into that if you want to get like a full understanding of what the heck smart contract is, and then other things dealing with PulseChain that Coffee just added in. So definitely a good time to check that out.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about the story last week. So this kind of broke the day we did stream, or that we just didn't have time to get into it with RG3 with everything we were talking about. But so this whale, Alex the Whale, that took the ecosystem by storm last week. He was on Matty Allen's podcast, I believe. It was Tuesday last week. His stream with Crispy and Axis was on that one, and Toby. They were on that stream. And so it was a weird interview. So for anybody that saw it, he was on for about a half hour, 40 minutes or something. It was a little strange. The guy was not doxxed or anything like that. There was a lot of odd pauses. And then he acted like he had people over at his house. Maybe he did. I don't know why I said acted like, but it was weird. I encourage you to check out the interview. I know Matty, I think, I don't know, maybe he caught hell for some people after it, saying like, oh, this guy, you don't even know, you guys might have got scammed. How do you even know who this person is? Why'd you do that? Johnny Chaos came on the stream eventually that day too. I thought it was a great interview. I was glad that they did do it regardless of what this guy's deal is. I mean, they did identify his wallet and saw all of his gigantic buys over the last few months that were buys at very good times in the market. So that all seems to be valid. And then the drama that unfolded the very next day was that wallet began to sell. Whenever the price continued to pump, he started to sell a little bit after. I don't think the fact that he started to make some big sells had anything to do with whether he was legit, not legit, whatever. A whale's going to do whale behaviors, obviously. But Ewok, did you have a chance to actually hear the interview? And what do you make? First off, the phenomenon is the phenomenon. So, I mean, you don't even have to necessarily see the interview for that, I don't think. But do you think the guy was legit? I have a tendency, if somebody's not doxxed, to, not totally believe everything I'm seeing and hearing. But I do think that the wallet is legit. I think the guy was probably legit. And overall, content-wise, I am glad that Matty had him on the stream. But what do you make of the whole situation? And then the reaction by everybody that is, freaking out about this guy's every move now. Like, why is he selling? What's going on? Just give me your general thoughts here.
Well, and that's the thing that, I always commend Matty because he always has things on or whatever. And people give him grief about it. I guess once you get to be a bigger influencer or whatever, you're going to get more people, you're going to get more haters. It's obvious with any streamer. It doesn't matter. I mean, the guy he bought Hex, he bought a bunch of it. We saw the green candle go up. And then the next day he sold it all. So I don't know if he was looking to see people maybe FOMO in. If that was his plan all along, to get people to buy in after him so that he could dump it all back down and make a little bit of profit.
Because he even made one of those big buys on stream. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I mean. He did the buy on stream, on Matty's stream. And you saw the green candle pop up, and it I forget how much it was for. It was did he buy $1 million?
I think it was a lot. Yeah, I thought it was a 6-figure buy. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I mean $1 million Hex is what I think it was. And then he turned around and sold it the very following day. But he probably made out because people saw that and were like, "Oh crap, I gotta join in, or I gotta buy before this guy does whatever." It was $100,000. So
that's what I thought. Yeah.
But legit or not, I don't think it matters, right? People get too fixated on other people's wallets. I get it. There's whale watching that's going to happen no matter what coin you're in. And they're out there for every coin. You're going to have these big people that move stuff around, and it freaks people out. I don't understand it. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes you want these guys to get out now before the price runs up. We've talked about that often. You don't want some of these big bag holders that aren't really serious about holding it and don't value it to hold the coin, because they're going to be some of the first ones to take profits probably. You get some of these smaller holders in who are doing some longer stakes because they want to see it mature. I read somewhere the other day that if you put $1,000 into a stake and 5 it, if Hex only ever gets to $1 at that point, you still turn it into $1 million. I mean, that's crazy to think.
Right.
As far as lottery ticket mentality goes, I don't know how much closer you could actually cash in on something. And what's $1 million going to be in 15 years? We don't know. But still, people, like I said, they get too fixated on other people's wallets, and I don't really, I don't know. He kind of gave off some weird vibes, I thought.
Definitely.
Anyway, you could almost tell that he was kind of, it sounded like he was getting force fed some information as well, because I don't know that he knew really a whole lot what was going on. I mean, he's made buys, he's made some decent trades, but it seemed weird. It just seemed off a little bit, but I didn't think anything of it, and I didn't watch his part. I caught the stream after he had signed off, and they were talking about it a little bit, and I went back and watched it, but I don't know. It doesn't bother me. Like I worry about my wallet because I know I can control it. I can't control what some of these other guys are going to do, and there's no point worrying about what you can't control. You tell my kid that. I'm like, only get upset about the things you can control. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your emotional energy. It's kind of pointless. So that's my take.
This there's been this appeal to authority with these whale wallets for a while. I mean, just people living in fear because of the Bank X stuff on eHex. Like, oh my God, it's just going to be a perpetual sell wall. What's the point of ever buying it or anything? And now with this as well, like, oh, he's going to suppress the price. He's a scammer. What is he doing? Like, these buys and sells are not enough to ruin anything to the lengths that these people are acting like. It's just not significant enough. And, even knowing that, like you just said a minute ago, Ewok, it doesn't matter what you invest in crypto. This is out there in every single one of these ecosystems, every single one of these coins. The beauty, if anything, of this and being an actual DeFi is, to an extent, we know the wallets. Like, we actually know whoever this Alex guy actually is. People know the wallet address. People follow the BankX wallets. Do you think all the VC people that are in like Polygon Matic, Solana, all these different tokens, do you think Aptos, these new garbage layer ones and stuff like that had seed rounds and all this VC money and everything, you don't know who any of those people are. You have no idea what the sell points are. You are getting dumped on your head with everything up to and including Bitcoin. So this whole thing about like, oh, we're going to get dumped on. Okay, then leave. Go to a different coin. I don't care, because you're just going to have the same thing happen. You'll just, maybe you'll feel better because you don't know who it is or something like that, but it's still going to be happening. So,
and as time goes on, and these and the markets kind of even out a little bit, some of these guys get shaken out and they're no longer there. They make terrible decisions. Not all whales are smart. Some of them are just lucky. They've gotten in. They've taken a chance. They had the money to take the chance in the first place, and they hit it big, and they end up being whales. That doesn't mean they're all like geniuses. So, when you see some of these guys doing it, some of them are good. Some of them will manipulate the markets to take advantage of a bunch of FOMO selling, and then they'll buy back in at a lower price. So, again, you can't put too much weight into what they do or care about it.
No, I totally agree with you. You just got to move on and ask yourself why you're investing in what you are and move on. So that's what I would encourage people to do. But if you guys are here enjoying the stream, do us a favor, smash the like. We're going to do this every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We were a little bit late tonight because of Hallows Eve or Halloween, whatever. And we're bumping it up to Tuesday nights. Just had some personal life switcheroos. So Tuesday nights is when we will be here going forward. I want to transition to this, and I just dropped it in the chat. Another link for you guys. If you haven't done this, I will encourage you to. But we have pulsepetition.org. Now, this was organized by Kinetics, longtime Hexagon, a person who goes by the name Danny Spencer, that I've never heard of, but he is in on the creation of this Amicus brief as well. And as we've already mentioned before, our friend Crypto Coffee All these three gentlemen together have created an amicus brief filing on behalf of Richard Hart, which you can sign at pulsepetition.org right there in the chat. If you're unfamiliar with what an amicus brief is, so it's essentially a legal document that is filed by a third party, that being this group, who is not directly involved in a case, but has some interest or expertise in the issue at hand. So far, all these things seem to check the boxes. The purpose of an amicus brief is to provide additional information or arguments to the court that may help it make a decision. Amicus briefs are usually filed in appellate courts, such as the U.S. Supreme Court, where the cases have a broad impact on society, which kind of seems like it would come into play here with what we have going on. Amicus briefs can be filed by individuals, groups, organizations, or government entities that have a stake in the outcome of the case. For example, in a case about civil rights, an amicus brief may be filed by a human rights organization, a legal scholar, or a state government. Amicus briefs can support either side of the case or offer a neutral perspective. To file an amicus brief, one must obtain the consent of all parties involved in the case or the permission of the court. So essentially, yeah, that's what's being done here. Is there's a petition being signed, and I would encourage you all to read. It's very lengthy, but what is included in the petition on pulsepetition.org. I thought they worded it very, very well, very professionally done. And so far, we had somebody ask this earlier, but we're at about, I think it was actually either 3,000 or 3,500 signatures so far.
3,509.
Yeah, and those should be unique because you are, supposed to technically dox yourself. I mean, this is just going to the court, basically, is who it's going to be submitted to, because they want this to be entered into the baseless case by the SEC against Richard Hart, because, as we just described what an amicus brief is, it seems something to be very applicable in a case like this when, you have the SEC that doesn't really know anything that they're talking about, loses every case they seemingly file right now, and just kind of throw a bunch of shit at the wall to see what sticks. So I do think that this document is very helpful to them who don't know what they're talking about. And it has a lot of petitions. So take the time out to do that. It takes you just about 30 seconds. Yeah, but what do you make of this, Ewok? Once again, another one of these fantastic things done grassroots by people in the community. Just awesome that they took the time to do this. And it doesn't even seem, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but I think they even put an attorney on retainer as well with this. So yeah, what do you make of all this?
So it cost them about 10 grand out of pocket to do this.
Yeah.
They've paid for it, everything like that. If you want to donate to the address, there is one that's listed, but they're not asking anybody to help fund it because it's already been funded. The lawyer that they have retained is I forget what the guy's name is, but he's represented some bigger legal clients. I know he represented Kyle Rittenhouse,
right,
and got his sentence reduced quite drastically. So he knows what he's doing in the courtroom. You do have to dox yourself because it does go to the judge. They could call you just to make sure that you're a real live person, because if we fill out a bunch of bots and fake phone numbers and they start getting numbers that don't exist, they'll essentially throw it away. So it has to be real people. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. You do have to dox yourself. Again, it's not going to the IRS. It's not going to anyone like that. And they're not asking for any financial information. If anything, you would get a phone call to ask if you really are supporting this and why. So at least do your homework a little bit if you sign it, so that if they do call, what you're signing, so that you can show your concern, again, if you do happen to get the phone call. But yeah, I think it's a great movement that these guys have taken upon themselves. It could get some traction. I don't know if you saw or not, Johnny Chaos had posted something, but imagine if there was some sort of financial penalty for them bringing suit of a negligent suit like this, and there were reparations that had to be made to people for the harm that they've caused. I mean, It's happened before. It's not likely, but it has happened. you know, and if the one of the best things that come out could say, throw this case out. I mean, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Here's a group of people that have laid out the whole thing in front of me, and it doesn't make sense. So it could get thrown out as well. So there's a lot of good things that can come out of this. So yeah, I mean, we would appreciate you to take the 30 seconds and just sign it. So
yeah, it just once again another thing by people in this community that is just awesome for them to organically do. You're not going to see this stuff in Solana. You're not going to see this stuff in Matic. You're not going to see it in these new L1s and L2s that are launching. This is just a totally different thing.
Sign it too. You know, I mean,
they won't.
Anybody.
I mean,
I understand, but anybody can sign it. It's not just not just for Hex, but I mean, you know, we can create a movement to help all of crypto.
Yeah, that's the shame of the thing. Yeah, is that a lot of people in crypto have decided to turn against Hex and everything. I guess because they don't like crypto in some strange twist of events. Don't appreciate real DeFi, and like things that aren't DeFi. But whatever, what can you do? But hey, we support them. We support XRP and their win over the SEC, and yeah, it'd be nice to have the support of others. But hey, we got a lot of people within the ecosystem that are obviously supporting it and signing it, and I think that this cycle will be the further. Last cycle was the cycle of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, all these scammers that wear suits. Okay, forget about the scammers that wear suits. Forget about the suits being the legitimate people and look at the people that wear Prada and strange outfits and dance on cars and stuff like that. Like that's really who we should be paying attention to.
Be careful of some of them too, because
yeah, some of them, but Richard Hart seems to be fine. But yeah, that's what I think people need to start doing in crypto. I doubt that many of them will do it. But hey, maybe this will be the cycle that people start to understand what legitimate real DeFi is after everything that failed so badly that was not DeFi last cycle. So yeah, so pulsepetition.org, check that out. Takes 30 seconds to sign it. Very, very easy. And yeah, we'll be on our way. We'll see what happens with that later on this month anyway. So shout out to those guys again. That's Kinetics, Danny Spencer, and Crypto Coffee. So thank you guys. Yep. So we have the official launch finally of 9-inch. The DEX has officially launched. Mintra, of course, an NFT platform, launched earlier this month on PulseChain. No liquid loans yet. They're still AWOL. I guess they did find something in the Fetch Oracle, which is one of the most important things in having this actually operate appropriately. So not sure what's going on there, but I'm looking at the watch here, and it looks like today is the last day of October, and they did pretty much guarantee a launch in October, which looks like it's not going to happen. So I haven't been looking at
Walrus.
Go ahead.
Walrus had mentioned he came on stream when they found the bug and said, just want to let you know what we found. It could go a few days into November now, but it still should be close. So sorry, go ahead.
No, I appreciate it because I was going to say I haven't been keeping up with news there. So yeah, I appreciate that. But the main headline here is the fact that 9-inch did launch. I'd be lying if I told you I knew a lot about it, but basically I guess it's more of a meme coin DEX, hence the name and the eggplant emoji. But yeah, so we are getting, we've had about a handful now anyway of products actually launch by this month on PulseChain. Obviously all the PH stuff, the Fux, Fiat, all that stuff has been launched now for a while. Liquid loans has been the one that most people are looking out for and clamoring for, and it does sound like it's close. I don't have any doubts in Walrus whatsoever. But yeah, what do you make of it, Ewok? 9-inch DEX launching. Are you going to be using it? And even if not, just talk about this chain that people aren't even talking about in mainstream crypto yet is doing just fine in terms of uptime, things being built on it, and crazy good tokenomics. So yeah, what do you make about how bullish this is?
Yeah, it's very bullish. So one of the big things is the liquidity farms on 9-inch are going to be super juicy for a little bit until things get evened out and more people get entered. But you're going to make some crazy APY in there with your farms. Also, I think people are forgetting about Petition, which is the aggregator that is going to help people make bigger buys. You're going to be able to get bigger people in and it's going to break up your buys across different exchanges. So it'll get some from PulseX, it'll get some from the PH system, it'll get some from 9inch. It's definitely gonna help people get bigger buys at better prices. So just keep that in mind as well. But yeah, it's great. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh man, we already have an exchange. Why would we do that? It's gonna hurt it." I don't think it really is. I understand market share gets divided up a little bit. If anything, it may hurt the buy and burn a little bit, but like I said, if you're using an aggregator, your best price is going to be determined by what's there. So I don't think that I don't think it's going to hurt anything. In fact, it can only, you know, there's so many already exchanges on Ethereum, and it's not affecting Ethereum's price. So it's definitely not going to hurt the ecosystem, the Pulse coin at all. So, you know, I'm stoked for it. I think these guys, you know, they were one of the ones that did a sacrifice. So people have been rewarded. Now, I heard the deployment of some of the tokens, people wised up to being able to use the contract before they were officially for sale. That was one of the things. But again, people that know crypto know the back door, and it's not really a back door or a bad way of doing things. They just happen to know the contract address and were able to interact with it before it hit the market. So, you know, there was some accusations of things being shady, but again, you know, it was because people know how to get around not being on an exchange and using the contract address to do whatever. So,
Right. Yeah.
um,
You mentioned Piteous, which is, I think, how it's actually pronounced, Ewok. We'll agree to disagree there, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Piteous is awesome. I mean, that's the DEX aggregator. And I agree with you. I don't think that it or any of these other DEXs are hurting PulseX in the long run or anything like that. The buy and burn still exists. And again, Piteous itself, which has been my favorite to use, is an aggregator. So you are still using PulseX. Maybe not as much as you would if you straight used PulseX, but you're still using it. So, you know, the buy and burn and all that stuff is still taking place. So no worries there. Any other thoughts on 9inch, or did you have anything else to add with liquid loans? Because it sounds like you were a little bit more up to date as to what was going on. So you think a few days into November?
Yeah, I think they're still really close, but you know, Walrus said that they had some final testing to do after they found that bug, and they just wanted to make sure, man, once the contract is locked, it's locked, and changing it or doing something different would be a nightmare and a mess. So they want to get it right. Just be patient. It's very close, and they said, you know, it shouldn't be too long with what they've got left. So that's all I had.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, that sounds good anyway. We have a couple of more topics to get to tonight. They are both juicy. They're going to get the most clicks whenever I cut them up into clips over this next week. I assure you that. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, smash the like. We appreciate it. We're going to do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's turn our attention to P-Dai, something that people are not talking about anymore, or not frequently anyway. I remember just a mere few weeks ago, I would see on Twitter, Atropa was all the rage, Teddy Bear, the best meme coin on PulseChain and the Atropa ecosystem. P-Dai is going to peg to $1, yada, yada, yada. So we have seen, you know, there was a crazy run up. I even fell victim so far anyway to it, and threw a couple of shekels in, nothing that I regret or anything like that, which is down, I don't know, a lot, 70% or something. So we're not seeing as much about P-Dai. Basically, it's plunged pretty hard, while the whole Atropa ecosystem has plunged pretty hard, while PulseChain has been pumping like hell over the last couple of weeks. I saw a tweet from somebody Monday, and there's really no point even giving this any credence, I don't think, because I don't even remember who it was, and, you know, they can basically wipe your ass with this statement. But he said, if P-Dai fails, PulseChain fails. I saw DCC, Dollar Cost Crypto, retweeted it laughing. But that is a maniacal statement. I don't even understand. I mean, there was no talk of even a pegged stablecoin or P-Dai whatsoever at the beginning of PulseChain. So that's just something that people have kind of gone head over heels for and solely focused on since then. But yeah, I'm not seeing as many Atropa people anywhere right now. I'm not saying that the whole thing is dead. I actually fully believe. I mean, I saw enough going on with that, whatever you want to call it, entity, ecosystem, the 414 wallet, all that stuff, that I think there's certainly validity there. I don't have, concrete opinions about things as much as some people, and I'd be lying if I told you that I've read into it and know as much about it as they do. I haven't gone down the rabbit hole, but some things did add up to me. So either way, are we just not seeing people talk about it because candles went red? Is the narrative dead? What do you make of it? I know you were never really a P-Dai guy in terms of getting involved. But yeah, what do you make of it? Is this thing dead? Is the narrative just done?
I think it fizzled. A lot of these things have about a 90-day life, 60 to 90 days. There's a lot of hype around it. And when there's such a small group, they just don't have the energy to keep it going, I think, long enough. Now, I will say, and I will give credit to the Tang gang. Those guys have the memes. They have a solid community of people that are putting memes out. That's really what they're about. And you can tell in the price chart. It's it's probably one of the best meme coins on PulseChain. I think it is the best meme coin. And as I said earlier, I think P-Dai was the same thing. It was a meme coin. There was this weird narrative that it would peg to $1, and I've been totally against that for ever since it came out. And I read into what it was. I just there's nothing to peg it. Now there's an oracle coming on liquid loans, which could help it once if the right set of circumstances happen. But again, I just don't think there was enough people pushing it. And, once they saw the real stuff taking off, they got out of it and got into what they should have been in the first place. And I hope they didn't lose position again. Like I had said earlier, getting in and out of stuff, trying to catch the one that's going to go up can be hazardous to your to your health, and your financial health. So yeah, I think it's fizzled. It doesn't say it's not going to make some gains. Again, when everything goes up, everything rises. So it all kind of rises together. But I kind of think that it just lost its steam, and there wasn't enough people pushing the narrative to keep it going and to onboard new people. They only had a few to start with, and they couldn't reach everybody. They only got a few, and then those people may have lost some faith too. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's got about a 60 to 90 day shelf life on a lot of new things, the new shiny object syndrome. And I think that just kind of fell into that category.
I definitely don't think it has fizzled out. I don't think it's dead. I think there's enough people there that want to get it done, and I think there is enough validity in the contract and that entity that there is something going on there. I don't know if that means that it actually does. Again, using the word peg to $1 versus reach parity momentarily with $1 or something, I think are two different things. I do think we'll start to see it go back up, like as this ecosystem, corrects and then starts to go back up again. It was so parabolic. I mean, there was just too much happening too quickly. So I think it makes sense that it is coming down here right now. I'm certainly not somebody who's sitting here streaming about P-Dai every other day and, acting like it's a big holding for me or anything. I just threw in simply a flyer, like I know a few other people did in the ecosystem that are more traditionalists, if you will. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'm just saying that because I hold some. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see.
Possible.
But
you do change your outlook on depending on what you hold. So
you do.
It can, yeah, for sure.
You do. But I have seen enough with that to make me feel that there probably is more going on there. But that said, it is a good lesson. And, I'll detour real quick to Gary Woods, Funding Gym, the other day said this. And he's so right. I forget exactly how he said it, but it was essentially that I'm going to totally butcher it, but when you buy something, you very quickly will know if it's something that you value regardless of price or not, because when the price plummets, you feel a lot differently than if it's something that you didn't really believe in versus if you did. And I can say 100% that like the way I felt like with P-Dai right now, if it went back to like if I made my money back, I depending upon where Pulse is, I'd probably just cash it out and get into Pulse because it's like and that's an indicator right there. Like why would I even mess around with it if I didn't believe enough in it at the time? And of course, when all that stuff was running up was whenever the whole ecosystem was way down, and now that the ecosystem's way up, it is way down. So it's one of those things. I mean, I'm not somebody who's going to like sell the low and then buy Pulse 2x higher. I'm just going to let it sit there and we'll kind of monitor it. So, but yeah, I think it'll still be around. It'll be interesting to see if it does rebound or not. But I mean, it's been like crickets. I haven't really been seeing anything about it lately.
No,
so
it's been quiet.
Yeah. What do you got from Philly there?
Philly asks, Axis is always bullish on PulseX for the long run because of the burn and lower supply over time. One of the things that I think is a big misconception is that, and the Yahoo that I booted out of here earlier said something about the OA should burn all their coins.
Appalachian hayseed or something.
Yeah. Burning tokens really has no positive price effect immediately. You could burn tokens and the only thing it would do is kill the market cap. It really doesn't do anything immediately as far as price appreciation. Now, the one thing that it can do over time, because there is a buy and burn, if there's more of that, the pressure will go up, So I think that's one of the things where Axis talks about is the buy and burn. But just burning tokens really doesn't do a whole lot for any. You see it in some of these other ones where they just burn half the supply and it didn't do anything
right
for the token, value itself, because people don't value it based on how many there are. It's about how many are available. So that's just my take on it, Philly. And people are obviously welcome to have a different opinion, but that's just the way I feel.
No, I think you're right about that. I think that makes a lot of sense. But it does make sense about he talking about Axis being bullish on it in the long run. I mean, I think it does make sense.
Sure.
That's kind of always been the thing that maybe PulseX, it's more crazy returns could be 2 bull markets into the future or something like that.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that behaves. But yeah, you're totally right, Ewok. I mean, the whole burning of tokens, I mean, we've seen it with Zen. I mean, it's so valueless that they've tried every mechanism under the sun to like burn it. I mean, the token continues to go down or just basically stay at an all-time low constantly. So I agree with you there. Speaking of Zen, what a great transition that was, actually. Okay, so even though we are now exiting the bear market, I mean, really, I think we're in define these things based on your own time horizon, whatever. We are certainly not in bullish times right now, but we are in a new market cycle, which we would consider the beginning of a bull market, basically, over this last year, even though this has been kind of the stagnant accumulation year. But we've got another new product launching. So, and it's funny because it was just a little over a calendar year ago that Jack Levin's Zen did launch. Now we have, we'll say the specifics and everything because there's a lot of funny stuff going on with this right now. Jake Sharp, who maybe you guys are familiar with, maybe not. If you've been in Hex for a long time, you probably know of him anyway. But he launched a new token. And hey, look, if you're here watching this later and you're like a big time Titan X guy, which is the name of this token, Ewok and I know very little about it, and I can say for myself anyway that I have no interest in it whatsoever. I mean, I'll look into it a little bit, but I'm not going to buy any. I can say that with very high confidence. But anyway, he has this new product launching, Titan X, which has all these talking points that are, well, it pulls this from Hex and it pulls this from Zen and all these things. and the funny thing about this, like not only with this token, but with Zen a year ago as well. And hey, look, I minted a ton of Zen. You know, I consider it a mistake, frankly, and I've been literally just selling it immediately when the mint terms come due. I mean, I've profited from it. Like I've been anywhere from a 2 to 4x based off of gas fees, but I'm just going to buy Pulse stuff with it because I actually value that. So, but all of these new things like Titan X now, just like Zen, all of them have specific references to Hex or even each other that they borrow from other products. Just kind of reading the white paper and thinking that what they do is, and I'm seeing this about, you know, on Twitter from the people that are talking about Titan X, that may or may not be paid to do it. I have no idea. You see that accusation thrown around. I have no clue if they are or not. I don't really even care, honestly. But just reading the white paper and thinking that, oh my God, like these are the best tokenomics I've ever seen. This is absolutely crazy. Do you know what this is going to mean? I mean, that may be true. Like, honestly, I some of these people, one in particular, and I won't name anybody, but one in particular I know is a very, very smart guy because I've heard him speak and he sounds pretty goddamn smart on a bevy of topics too. But one thing that I think is an oversight, and again, we're not going to tell anybody how to spend their money. If you want to dabble in something like this or do a lottery ticket, I don't even know how you do it or anything, then go ahead and do it. But just something having crazy tokenomics is not everything. You know, we in Hex, in PulseChain, have a very credible guy who's been around the block a long time in blockchain and other businesses as well. That is a shrewd businessman that we have the utmost trust in. He's a crazy personality. Richard Hart is a big part of this, as is the community that he helped cultivate and now has taken over on its own. Okay. Now, I think Zen has had maybe a little bit of that in the last year, but you know, the chart also looks like you know, the giant L joke, obviously. So I don't know, Ewok. What do you make about this? You know, I'm not interested really in like, I mean, yeah, I'll certainly read around and, you know, look into Titan X a little bit, but I just want to have tunnel vision on what I'm focusing on right now. I mean, we're about to start a new bull market. You can throw a dart at some of these cryptos right now, and you will at least do well. So
Sure.
I'm not necessarily trying to get into something new. I'm open to anything, but I'm just not really interested. But what do you make of all this?
My biggest fear is always the founder.
Right.
And I've heard a lot of, now, don't get me wrong, I hear a lot of bad things about Richard Hart too.
Right.
And the first thing is, well, it takes this part from Hex and it takes this part from this. Well, any coin that has tried to take anything from Hex has failed
Yeah.
historically so far. So right there, I'll stick with Hex. Jake Sharp, I really don't trust the guy. There are screenshots I've seen where he is in people's DMs asking them to join his private group. He's shilling stuff on the down low. And some people that I truly believe have said he's not to be trusted. So for that reason, I'm out. Kind of thing, you know, as the Shark Tanks would say, for that reason, I'm out. I know there's about 4,600 Ethereum sitting in an address that was supposed to be used, I thought, for some sort of buy and burn mechanic, but 4,600 Ethereum sitting there. My big fear is that wallet is suddenly going to become hacked or lost the keys, or somebody got into it and something happened. And that 4,600 Ethereum is gone.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not, you know, it's scary when you see that much stuff just kind of sitting there, you know, where did ETH go kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's more because of the credibility that I don't trust the founder. I don't trust when they start taking things from other coins. There's always something that they don't think about that doesn't work, and it's not for me. That's my take on it. I know there's a lot of people that really want to be involved with it, and they like those tokenomics. But again, I'm not sold, mostly because I just don't trust the founder, and I don't trust the contract. So
It's funny that you mentioned Jake Sharp DMing people, because when you said it, it planted a seed in my mind, because I remember I feel like he's DM'd me before, and sure
yeah,
enough, April 30th of this year, I have a gigantic DM from him. That is, by the way, appreciate the follow. Since we're connected now, let me give you some context. I'm Jake, the founder of Cash Flow for Life, a crypto mastermind with 114 plus members and $100 million of combined net worth inside. We help the semi-retired, we blah, 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 basically like helping people invest in crypto. Like, look, that isn't confirmation alone about what somebody is or what they do or anything like that. I'm not going to judge anybody for how they try to earn a buck, but I mean, like, I'm not interested in joining a crypto mastermind group of any sort like that. There's just, I don't have a reason to do it. But yeah, but that's not the only thing, to your point, Ewok. I mean, I think there's other things as well. And, you have to be the judge of this stuff on your own. If something smells fishy to you, stay away. The more that I not even did research, but like the more that I heard and observed Jack Levin talk with Zen, the more and more turned off that I got. And just he started to go just straight up right like against Richard Hart about like social media posts and shit like that. And it just made me realize, like, okay, yeah, this is definitely like a grift upon this community, which I know was obvious to a lot of Hexicans right away. But I think you do learn, as you do go on. And I know that you you have more experience with this than I do, Ewok. But as you go on, you will see so many Hexicans. And this is why a lot of outside people say, like, oh, you guys are so closed-minded. It's a cult and blah, blah, blah. When something new like this comes along and the Hexicans are so turned off by it and have red flags go up all over the place, it's because they've seen this shit so often before.
mm-hmm.
And there's constant imitations and stuff like that. So I'll be honest, like, while I used to get like frustrated with you being like that, if I would see something new, I totally get it now. Like, I get where you're coming
Yeah.
from. I know why you felt that way. And I'm doing my best to walk that tightrope between shitting on something new just because it's something new and I don't trust it. Yeah. Because you want to keep an open mind.
It's hard. It's a fine line that you have to walk. And I agree with you. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, I just personally don't trust them. So I'm stuck to say that, and I'll say it on here because I could be proven wrong. I could be completely wrong, but usually when I get a bad feeling about somebody, it pans out within 6 to 8 months. Something bad happens. I've stuck up for a lot of new things too that were out there, and just because we don't promote them on stream, we don't talk badly about them like I'm doing right now. So
yeah,
there's a big difference. There's a big difference of not talking about something, and there's a big difference of actually saying probably should stay away from that one. So and that's just my advice.
Yeah, I would say use your spidey senses, everybody. I mean, like, just use your best judgment and your intuition, because just, again, some of the ways that and I'm not even insinuating that there's any foul play at all. I don't even mean anything like that. It's just that, like, overall, just if those spidey senses start going off for you, it might be something to stay away from. So,
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, obviously.
Yeah. Anybody that's shilling a private course in your DMs,
Right.
is usually not a good sign.
Right.
Guys like that manage that much money don't need to DM people to get more of your money. So just keep that in mind. It's just a shady, that alone is just a big red flag for me. And I say stay away.
Yeah, and it is interesting because you see a lot of commonality. Like, the people that are interested in this Titan X thing are all of the same people that are still interested in Zen at this
Yep,
point.
it
It's
is.
just it's very interesting, and it's like it's all Hex ecosystem people, which, whatever, they can do what they want to do. This whole, like, oh no, you're like, you don't control what anybody else wants to do. But it is interesting because they all kind of came from that DeFi stuff originally. And then they're very susceptible to all these other things that are getting created. I don't know how anybody could continue to go down the Zen road after the Zen FTs and then whatever the hell DB Zen is and this token. And now there's a layer 1 and all this stuff. I just have absolutely no interest in any of that. So.
It got way too complicated, way too many products, and they didn't give anything a chance to do anything on its own. Just kept trying to duct tape things on top of things to help. And it kind of created a mess. That's how I saw it. I could be wrong. I have some Zen at myself, but it just got to be way overly confusing, way too much different mechanics of different coins trying to do different things to assist it, and it's still going down. And I just. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from past videos when we have shared these exact thoughts on Zen, we get comments from people. They're like, what do you mean it's too complicated? Maybe you're just an idiot. And it's like, do you want your product to be complicated to otherwise somewhat educated people? Like if your product is complex, that's your fucking problem, not mine. You know what I mean? Like, well, you just have to figure it out. No, do you want me to buy it? Like, make it easy for me, and maybe I will. I have no idea what's going on with this, and the chart has never been up once. Like, why? Right. Why? No, you owe me if you want me to buy it. I don't have to do all the research to decide to buy it when there's 18 different products and none of them make sense to me. So get the hell out of here. I can't stand that attitude. But anyway, yeah. So there you go. If you want to get in on another new weird coin from somebody that you know
that we don't trust
about. Go ahead. Yeah. I mean, it's up to you. But again, I try to keep an open mind. We're at the point of the market that I don't need to do that. Like, I don't care. There's no point for me to really deviate or anything. So, to each his own. So I think that wraps up. That was a nice passionate segment there to end it, I think. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the stream tonight, do us a favor, hit the like button. We appreciate it. We do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the Creative Crypto live stream. We've been having guests on every 2 or 3 weeks or so, and we're going to kind of continue with that pattern, I think. But we also love just our kind of show with just me and Ewok here as well. So we'll do that too. Ewok, before we get out of here, you got anything else? Anything else you want to touch on tonight?
No, but kudos to the people that are building. Again, don't have to be a fan of everything. Just seeing the ecosystem take off the way that it is, and the people that are passionate about it, it's great. I know who DGen Moonboy said about his T-shirt. He got the T-shirt. He's happy with it. I'm wearing one of them too. One of our designs, which is the buy your or be your own bank with the Hex logo.
BYOB.
Got that one. So yeah, check out our T-shirts. We only have a couple. They're all original from us at creativecrypto.com. We'll take you there. Check them out if you want. And otherwise, happy Halloween.
Yeah, we got a BYOB Hex one. We have real DeFi PulseChain. We have buy and burn PulseX, and then an actual Creative Crypto with the symbol of all three of those on there. But yeah, the tri-blends are definitely really nice. We just went ahead. I went in today and actually across the board lowered prices by 15% on everything. So we try to make them uniform that, you don't have to represent the program if you don't want to. It's all about those 3 tokens really, and just showing your love for true DeFi. So check that out. I usually tag some of the products in the different streams and videos and stuff like that too, if you guys want to check them out. So yeah, we will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be November. We should have a lot to react to next month. So for Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. Catch you guys here next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast. Take it easy, guys.